If not his brain, per se, what did provide Dr. Alexander with the memory of such a fantastic, vivid experience?
I'm so glad we talked about the logo now.
Yeah. It's perfect.
It's perfect. An unending, inky blackness filled to overflowing with the infinite healing power of the all-loving deity at the source, who many might label as God.
So the investigation into human consciousness is nothing new. Was I once a victim of that suburban slumber that is so intoxicating?
That's almost poetic.
Welcome to Into the Unknown with Mike and John, Season 3, Episode 3.
3!
Finally! Into the Unknown returns to our Paranormal Consciousness Study, John.
Finally!
I know it. In Season 1, Episode 7, we read the Kabbalion. The echoing numbers is awesome. Episode 7, you remember, where we looked at the 7 principles?
I do remember the Kabbalion episode.
Glad you do, because you're going to need it. We read the Kabbalion with its 7 universal principles, 7, and wondered, well, are these accurate? Do they really describe our universe? Do they complement or contradict our reality that is clearly littered with the paranormal? Well, today, folks, we take another step with the goal of trying to find out. I'm Mike Duber.
And I'm John Fitzpatrick.
All right, John. It's been a while.
It has. We're a little behind, behind the scenes glimpse. With the snow came through. Mm-hmm. Some things happened. It's been a little while since we've been in the studio, so it's good to see you again.
Yeah, it's nice to see you. It's been a while. We're going to record this, and then it's like in a few short days, it's going to release.
I know.
This is weird. This cutting it close.
And thank you for editing in that quick a turnaround.
No
but yes, it'll be that quick.
Yeah.
And there have been some, like I mentioned, some changes. There were some visible changes to our audience. Yes. We've been doing some updates to our logo. Which hopefully people have begun to see. And, that's changed some of the social media around a little bit, But
and you can see it reflected also in the cover art that we do for each episode. And we've gotten just trying to bring the flavor through and keep thematically similar. Yeah.
And you've also made some editorial choices with the episodes, the intros, the music, we've done away with, we used to have trailers, little 30-second snippets featuring some outtakes or
interesting thoughts. And, what a trailer would do is tease what the episode might be about. But
now,
we looked at the metrics and, people don't need them. People don't need them. But want them. That's fine.
But that effect, you've moved to the beginnings of the episodes.
That's right. Yes.
And I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah, it just collapses that and it's more efficient.
Yeah, okay. But I did want to take a moment to talk about the logo just a bit because we're kind of excited about that. We released initially with sort of a compromise logo. It was one we liked, but it really didn't mean anything.
We just I would say it was totally meaningless. But it wasn't. It was quick. We needed something.
Yeah, it was black and white, and we liked the starkness of that. Blah blah blah. But we decided that with season 3 and a growing audience that we needed something with a little more zing. And kind of funny. It really was I was reading something else, and came across this image, and it hit me. It really struck me as emblematic of our whole approach to this topic. Yeah. It is not meant to be a literal depiction or symbol of the podcast, but it is sort of iconic. Yeah. And the image that struck me was a handprint that dates all the way back to the very first cave art.
Yeah, we're talking like 40,000 years ago, 45,000 years ago. Amazing.
And, the image came across to me in the context that it was being used in a science fiction story as the flag, as the image on the flag of humanity, a united humanity.
Okay.
Right. And I was like, wow, that's brilliant. That really is brilliant, because we have no idea what this artist looked like. And the handprint was created, like I said, for cave art, simply by placing the hand on the wall of the cave, and then they believe that the
artist,
almost like an airbrush, the artist blew red ochre.
Ochre paint
mixed in. Yes, that was the tint. Mixed in with some ash, some animal fat, and some water. And just across the hand, so that you actually have the negative image of the hand on the wall, but it's splattered red. Very evocative. Red color having a sort of a connection to all kinds of things. Blood, of course, human blood. All blood is red, no matter what color the person was that made this art, because we have no idea what they look like.
Even the blue bloods.
Right. But and that blood image can mean so many different things. It can be violent. It can be life-giving. It can be so many things. And that's what really got to me. Plus, it was so old. This is sort of considered the first signature.
Yeah, and there's really no question. Like, who made this? Well, man, the hand of man is literally the image. Yeah. So it is very iconic.
And it's there on the wall with all the things that were important to them in their world. So all the animals they hunted, some iconography that's believed to be religious. Some of the first.
Also, depending on the author you're reading, it can also be signs that they were using drug, different drugs to have shamanic experiences, and the visions that they saw were depicted also on the wall. So that's a Graham Hancock thing.
Yes, and there's also some monsters in the paintings as well.
Certainly are. They call those. I'll think of it. It's rats. The man animal mixture.
Yes.
Like a Theranthrope is what they call it. I think misanthrope. Well, misanthrope. No, Theranthrope. Theranthrope. I think it is.
I think it's theranthropic is the word you're looking for.
Yes,
it is a monster that is half man, half beast.
But like DMT, like the ayahuasca journeys that people go on, a lot of those are like archetypal visions. Like they're shared amongst people. And so a lot of those, they think that a lot of those, like the pierced man.
I didn't know I was going on the air with Joe Rogan today.
I'll tell you what. Well, yeah, no, I mean, I can't partake just yet.
Maybe
one day, soon, maybe.
but may our podcast someday reach the grand heights that Joe Rogan says.
I was going to say,
but
Rogan, I don't think we're quite
but what you're talking
yet.
about is exactly the reason why this really resonated for me as a potential icon for our story, because the image itself looks all the way back to mankind's earliest beginnings, its first stirrings of telling stories, of telling art, all of the experiences that they had, whether they were realistic experiences or paranormal experiences or religious experiences or some mixture of all of that together, right there in that hand, in that signature, in that first stirring of self-awareness. And then what we did...
First stirring of sentience, perhaps.
Yeah. What we did was paired that with a very futuristic font to try to look forward into the future and say that that's really what this story is about. Our podcast really, when it comes down to it, is humanity stirring with its own awareness, especially around the edges. And the picture itself, like I said, it's a negative image. It is the paint is around the edges of that hand. So while you might look at the image and go, what does that have to do with anything they've ever put on air?
It has everything to do.
It has everything to do with it. And it really, I sent it to Mike, and he said,
I knew it as soon as I saw it.
Yeah, let's tweak it a little bit, but we didn't do much to it. And, here we are. So we have our new logo image, and I think it'll keep going. 'Cause especially what I really liked about it, it's simple.
Yeah.
It's easy to reproduce in multiple different ways, but I really like this.
Yeah, no, and I think it still allows that broad coverage of all the topics we touch, because they all touch humankind. So Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, it didn't exclude anything either. If there's a question of, well, what does this include? It doesn't exclude anything.
And it might have just added something to the backlog, which is cave art, which would be fascinating. Lascaux and Chavot.
Right.
All the great sites. So, yeah, we're going to get to those and all the interpretations of cave art.
Okay, but I did want to make that mention. We're trying to tweak our social medias a little bit more over the coming weeks. Today I made an effort to try to update the cover art on the Facebook page, and it's not cooperating at all. But I think you'll see some changes. Oh, we've had a minor disaster in the studio, but we'll fix that. So expect some more changes coming across our spectrum, but they're editorial, artistic changes. It's still the same. Mike Duber and John Fitzpatrick, you've come to know.
Still the same. Yeah, that's right. We're still the same. We're still the same goofy guys that do Mickey Mouse voices and strainer voices with pirates. Hoit talk.
Yes.
Still the same.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I just wanted to kind of
that was
address that change and suggest that maybe some other. And before I fully give it back to you, social medias, very important. Please go out there and like our stuff. As I've mentioned, we've got a Facebook page. There's a Facebook conversation group, which I've been neglecting, but if you can find it and start posting there, I will try to make that more prominent myself. But if you guys can find that and start your own conversations and build some community, that would be awesome. We do have a presence on Instagram as well. And I have, those are the two big ones, but I do actually have some hidden gems out there.
Oh, what does that mean?
Oh, they'll have to go looking for it.
Oh, I'm intrigued because I don't go out there much.
Yeah, it's not prominent, and it's intended to be that way. There are Easter eggs out on the internet if you go looking for them.
Nice.
But those are the three big things we've got. We've got the Facebook page, the Facebook community page, and an Instagram.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I appreciate you doing that because that's a little beyond me. The tech stuff behind the scenes is perfect for me. I love to play with the editing and getting that just right. But you seem to really manage the media well. I appreciate that.
I'm happy to manage the media as best I can. It's been uncooperative lately, particularly, like I said, with our AI overlords not wanting to generate the pictures as fast as I needed them. I've gotten a lot of flag about AI, but it's just the two of us doing all of these things. We have only so many resources, whether they're time or monetary. I would love to pay an artist to do it.
Yeah.
I'd love to pay my daughter to do it, but frankly, my daughter's too busy.
Yeah.
And even if I paid her, I don't think she would give me the kind of professional quality that the AI does.
Oh man, that's all right because she's not listening.
She's not listening.
Yeah, that's all right.
And even if she is, she knows
day.
It's true. It's just she's very busy finishing up her school and trying to figure out what comes next. Yeah, probably grad school. So she'll continue to be busy for a while. But we don't have the money to pay anybody else, no professional. And I need it to be ready for the internet as soon as it's created. So it's not, even if I drew it by hand, which I am capable of,
it would take time.
It would take time as opposed to the AI. So please forgive me. Know that we are using it judiciously and we are trying to use it responsibly, at least as long as we have to. But if I can find a way to off-ramp that, I will. I promise.
Well, I'll also make the argument, and I don't know, maybe this is self-serving, but there's AI is in the backlog. So this is really a type of experiment too, because in other avenues, I touch upon AI. We look at it as a tool of humankind,
just like any other
an
tool.
Interesting one, and one that brings some, dare I say, paranormal elements. There are a couple of things I've seen we could talk about that really make me wonder. But that's for another day. Well, I'll take a couple pins already.
Yep.
So we'll do that.
All right. So that's the housekeeping. We should get back to your.
Yeah, PCS. This one's going to be long. So folks, I would dig in or maybe be prepared to do this in a couple sittings. It may be long, but hopefully very, very interesting. So today's topic is we're going to use near-death experiences as the backdrop on which to talk about the hard problem of consciousness. But we're going to dive in. But I want to get a little bit of out of the way up front. This episode has taken a little extra time to cook. I've had a lot of reading I wanted to do, and originally I said there was just one book we were focusing on, and we are, but there were other books I decided I wanted to sort of get out ahead of, and it helped me be more confident with everything we want to talk about today. So, but sorry for the delay. There have also been a few intervening events in my personal life that should make this episode pretty interesting, namely a death in the family, and so we'll see how far I get. If you get some weird edits,
I'm here for you if you need a hug.
I appreciate
It'll be fine.
that. I think I can go without the hugs.
What if I need the hug?
The edit. Well, all right, that's fine. Maybe
I have some unresolved family issues as well.
That's true. We did talk about them.
Okay.
That's so good.
All right.
But if you hear any strange edits, it might be because
we're crying.
We're working out. We're crying and hugging each other.
I'm sobbing.
Yeah.
I do that a lot these days.
But I will say it was very interesting, and I certainly have a lot more insight, but more to come. And so I mentioned that we went beyond the Castrop book. I think I've got like 7 or 8 different sources that I onboarded.
Good work.
Since we last covered it. And then, so I think I found the balance. 'Cause we're not going to try and boil the ocean here, but there is a lot to cover. So let's dig in. In the early morning hours of November 10th, 2008, neurosurgeon Dr. Eben Alexander found himself in a severe health crisis. If he had not been brought to the emergency department at 4:30 a.m. that morning, death would have been certain. By 8 a.m., he was in a deep coma. He was suffering acute bacterial meningoencephalitis. In layman's terms, this is an infection of the brain, specifically inflammation of the brain's surrounding protective membranes. Now, Dr. Alexander's condition worsened to include diffuse cortical injury, that's nerve fiber damage, and extraocular motor dysfunction, that's brainstem damage. And this extended into global neocortical involvement. Now, that's widespread effects on memory and high-functioning activities of the neocortex, or the frontal lobe of the brain. Now, these are all the medical terms to describe what is ultimately a very grave situation for Dr. Alexander. So bad, in fact, he was not expected to live. Now, despite horrible odds, on the 7th day, Dr. Alexander opened his eyes and emerged from his coma. He was extubated, and his recovery began. Rates of survival for the infection he had, which is spontaneous E. coli bacterial meningitis, range widely from 27 to 90%. And that's 100% without any treatment. You're gonna die. So, good thing he made it's dire. Yeah. It's dire. Good thing he made the ED, because it was.
I'm sorry. That was the delayed reaction, because I was still very impressed by your ability to get through the medical terms. You have clearly done voice work before.
I did. I've done the voice work, specifically this script. I've read this a couple hundred times already.
But yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, that's bad. This was a very, very life-threatening situation for Dr. Alexander.
Yes, and it's bad. Now, but of course, it depends on many existing patient factors, right? When we're talking about percentages, you can see that wide range is due to factors like age and current condition. You know, somebody that's really healthy with this may fare better. Someone that's already depleted is not going to maybe do so well.
Pre-existing conditions.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yep. The point is, you don't want this. It is aggressive, and in about half of the cases cause some form of permanent brain damage.
Also bad if you're a doctor.
A neurosurgeon.
Oh, yeah.
Now, without knowing the specific care provided to Dr. Alexander or the state of his health prior to the event, we can't assess his case ourselves, but he provides details we can use. Now, for our purposes, he made a complete recovery, but the infection, his coma, his recovery, and all the facts on evidence about it, and whatever your opinions are about them, are only half the story. It's what Dr. Alexander said about his experience while in the coma is where the truly fascinating story lies. You see, Dr. Alexander woke up with an amazing near-death experience story, or very commonly known by its acronym, an NDE. An NDE is a memory of a vivid, subjective experience while, quote, near death, recalled by the experiencer upon awakening. NDE stories cover a wide gamut of common themes, including a life review, a tunnel of light, meeting loved ones or relatives, beautiful landscapes with intense, vivid colors and feelings of acceptance, joy, and commonly love. Some stories recount having met Jesus himself. Others have spoken directly to God. But some NDEs, a small percentage, are not so pleasant, with some experiencers recounting fear, firescapes, and frightening entities. It's worth noting some describe being sent to these hellish locations only to be saved by an intervening presence. These are, of course, reminiscent of hell, eternal damnation, and the underworld, and could in fact be the origin of them in common myth and lore through the ages. It's easy to see how what people see in dreams, ecstatic visions, can become archetypes and take on forms in our consciousness. Now, across the population, only 5 to 10% of those in near-death circumstances recall having some type of experience. But so too do severely ill patients report at a 15% occurrence. Even people, quote, not in danger, report similar experiences during dream states or REM sleep. And reporting the highest incidence are cardiac arrest survivors at 10 to 20%.
This was difficult for you to do, wasn't it?
Yeah, this hits home and
I
taking the hits keep on coming. You know, our listeners may recall Angie, a character we mentioned, my lady friend. She had a cardiac arrest event. But those survivors at 10 to 20% report NDE during clinical death. Now, some of you may be familiar with Dr. Alexander. He's a well-known character in the NDE literature and lore, and he presents and goes on shows and is interviewed quite a bit. He's written extensively on his experience, and he has a website where I found his story. Now, John is going to read a part of this, and John, I'm going to throw it over to you.
My meningoencephalitis had been so severe that my original memories from within coma did not include any recollections whatsoever from my life before coma, including language and any knowledge of humans or this universe. That scorched earth intensity was the setting for a profound spiritual experience that took me beyond space and time to what seemed like the origin of all existence. Those memories began in a primitive, coarse, unresponsive realm, the earthworm's eye view, or EEV, if you will, from which I was rescued by a slowly spinning, clear white light associated with a musical melody that served as a portal up into rich and ultra-real realms. The Gateway Valley, that's capital G, capital V, the Gateway Valley was filled with many earth-like and spiritual features, vibrant and dynamic plant life, with flowers and buds blossoming richly, and no signs of death or decay. Waterfalls and sparkling crystal pools, thousands of beings dancing below with great joy and festivity, all fueled by swooping golden orbs in the sky above, angelic choirs emanating chants and anthems that thundered through my awareness, and a lovely girl on a butterfly wing who proved months later to be central to my understanding of the reality of this experience. The chants and hymns thundering down from those angelic choirs provided yet another portal to higher realms, eventually ushering my awareness into the core. An unending inky blackness filled to overflowing with the infinite healing power of the all-loving deity at the source, who many might label as God.
So in his own words, Dr. Alexander describes this as a spiritual journey. Now, I don't think, John, you would dispute that. I don't dispute that.
No,
I don't think
that's what the description is. This is a spiritual journey from the very lowest point to the very highest.
Yes. Yep. So the earthworm view all the way up and back again. Yeah. Now, but he does go on to make statements that are key to our focus today. And I'm going to ask John.
Okay, I'm ready.
Just a yeoman here.
God seemed too puny a little human word with much baggage, clearly failing to describe the power, majesty, and awe I had witnessed. All of my understanding of space, time, mass, energy, information, soul journeys, causality, the afterlife, reincarnation, meaning, and purpose took on extraordinary relationships. I cycled through those spiritual realms multiple times, offering a rich spiritual odyssey that completely defies any conventional scientific understanding, given the duration and severity of my meningoencephalitis. Given those medical facts, my brain was incapable of providing any hallucination, dream, or psychic drug effect due to the global damage of my neocortex so apparent from my neurologic exams, scans, and laboratory values.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that. That was a lot. I gave you a lot.
Meningoencephalitis.
You did amazing.
You didn't warn me about the second occurrence. You warned me about the first, but not the second occurrence.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize I needed this. Yeah. I didn't realize that.
I was just so pleased I got through it the first time.
That's fantastic. Okay. Yeah, meningoencephalitis is not one. I mean, you see that word and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, it does not look exactly like it's pronounced. Yes.
But it speaks well. It has a nice ring to it.
It does.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, John, that's great. You didn't trip on that word at all. I'm glad I warned you. Okay. So, wow, there's a lot to unpack here. So let's keep going.
I think the bottom line was that his brain was not capable of providing this experience. Because we hear a lot about dopamine and different chemicals in the brain, but that was not something that could be happening based on the science. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that is one approach. That is certainly his view, right? And I would think
I'm just a lawyer. I second guess doctors. I don't make medical diagnoses myself.
I have to tell you, I second guessed I fired my GP because I didn't like some of the things he had to say, and it wasn't because I was unhealthy.
Mine tells me I'm fat.
I'm going to leave that there. I know my experience. I'm just moving right along. I have some thoughts there.
Oh, wait.
We'll take that offline.
We'll take that offline,
buddy. No, but I mean, not in a bad way. Some things that might help. Okay. All right. So Dr. Alexander, he's in his neurosurgical opinion, and I do have a little piece of his CV at the top. I mean, like Dr. Alexander is a neurosurgeon from Charlottesville, North Carolina. His undergrad work was at Phillips Exeter Academy, because I know, John, that those universities, the ones that are well founded, or one that's high on your list of respect for those that can.
I still respect experts. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I
know that's out of fashion these days.
Well, I've run across people that have these same degrees that didn't impress me at all. So
I understand that too.
In my line of work, that sometimes happens. It's not always the case. I'm just saying sometimes it's not.
You got to wonder. But remember,
how did you get that?
Even if you graduate last in your class,
you still get the degree.
You still graduated.
You still graduated. I won't read his CV because I don't care, but it's there for John. But he's a neurosurgeon, and that's his opinion, and that's fine. And I think it's certainly worth looking at. And his opinion was his brain was not capable of providing this experience he had. Now, some of you may be saying, well, clearly it did. What else could have delivered that experience? Good question. Now, others may say, yes, his experience was pure consciousness. No brain or body required. Now, still others may say, very interesting. What the heck is going on?
I think I'm in that third group.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. That's a good place to be.
Yeah, I think that's a fair place to be.
We just need to be questioning. Yes. All right, let's go deeper. Now, our best neurological science tells us your brain is basically a network of 86 to 100 billion cells called neurons. Neurons are cells that generate and carry electrical charge. Neurons are linked together at sites called synaptic gaps. When a neuron fires, so to speak, the charge excites one end of the synaptic gap to release chemicals that flow between the gap to the next neuron, which promulgates the charge, and so on. Now, these electrochemical reactions happen at incredibly high rates of speed in order to process all the information in the brain. Now, this is electricity and chemistry in action in your brain. Now, I am actively leaving out much more detailed understandings for the sake of getting to the key arguments. We're leaving out the myelin sheath along the neurons and all. There's a lot of other things that are there, but that is effectively the simplicity of the brain. It's very basic, or it's very simple. Now, in short, we are bioelectrical beings, as well as chemical and mechanical beings, which are more intuitive, right? We can sense that our bones are linked, and we can use physics to use our bodies, right? And
I'm following you. Yeah.
Chemistry and so forth. But the electrical part is always not very apparent to people.
And it's basically an on-off switch. Either the neuron is fired or the neuron is not. It's very binary.
There is a binary aspect to it, but we're going to get to some of that too. I think that could be questioned as well. And I don't mean... but you'll see. I don't want to get too far ahead of us. So yeah, like the chemical and mechanical things might be easier to apprehend, and maybe people don't think of electricity. But when looking for signs of life, doctors in a hospital are looking for evidence of electricity. The electrocardiogram, the ECG, also known as the EKG, or the electroencephalogram, the EEG, are used to look for electricity. One examines the heart, the other the brain. Now, Dr. Alexander's opinion, his brain scans did not detect neural activity, no electrical impulses. And this is the very heart of the matter. Now, so as not to run down each rabbit hole, because there are many, we need to pin a few questions that arise here. If there are no electrical signals to detect, what about chemical reactions? Because remember, we said at the synaptic gap there's a chemical flow, which are the reuptake, yes, the receptor areas on those synaptic gaps. We're going to leave that there for the moment. And what do we know about the process, the death process overall? And that's where we get into the binary on or off switch, mm-hmm, right? Which could be not all electrical charges are equal. But we're going to pin that there for now.
Or how they're affected by the chemical.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Which is a thought that occurred to me. So again, behind the scenes, I am coming to this dead cold.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I didn't want to have any preformed opinions.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not... I'm going to try very hard not to present this in a one-sided way. I'm really just putting all this out there because this is hard to comprehend. It'd be hard enough to comprehend it as it is and not try and detect the sides that we might be taking. So let's just investigate together.
Okay.
Now, those two questions I came up with, right? The what about the chemical reactions and then the death process itself, right? Now, those are both excellent areas of investigation. Now, as we know, the brain releases DMT at some point near death. Now, what effect does that cause? And death itself is not binary. death is a process and not fully understood, truth be known. Now, we have created categories to describe death. There is clinical death, there's biological death, there's neurological death, and there's legal death, John.
Yes,
as you might be familiar with. You may have learned that in
and in fact,
Law School.
you can be legally dead but still be living somewhere, probably on a beach in a non-extraditable country.
That's correct.
With a Mai Tai.
That's exactly correct.
And who knows?
You successfully faked your death. You're legally dead, but you're still alive somewhere having a Mai Tai. That's right. Now, according to our ITU experience, death is messy.
Death is messy. People are messy.
People are messy. And death is more of a spectrum. Now, if you're familiar with Tim Urban from his site called Wait But Why, he says this from an article on cryogenics and freezing the recently departed. He adds yet another category of death. And if you want to read it?
Sure.
Yeah, read that.
All right.
For me.
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Except I see there's another difficult word right there. Cryonicists.
Yes.
Cryonicists
Good job.
view death not as a singular event, but as a process. One that starts when the heart stops beating and ends later at a point called the information theoretic criterion for death. Let's call it infodeath, where the brain has become so damaged that no amount of present or future technology could restore it to its original state or have any way to retrieve its information.
Yeah.
Basically, the hard drive of your brain is defunct.
It's irretrievable.
Right.
It's experienced so much damage because it's been too long without any activity.
I have to admit, I'm beginning to think about zombies at this point in the conversation, but I don't know if we're going to have any reason to come back to them. But I'm just gonna pin it there. Okay, go on.
Yeah,
but now I'm beginning to wonder, okay, where in the process are they?
Well,
you're nodding at me.
That's something we can pin because there are
Let's
folks
go.
out there that would say zombification is a thing that happens down there in Haiti, where it's very popular.
Yeah. I mean, and when I said zombies, I was talking about the spectrum of zombie as well. Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, right. But there's the cultural one, but then there's the real world chemically induced zombification. But we could look into that later. Now, but for discussion's sake, we should accept certain premises and then beg the question, if not his brain per se, what did provide Dr. Alexander with the memory of such a fantastic, vivid experience? Now, our inquiries today will poke at some possible answers. Now, we'll use Dr. Alexander's experience as the paranormal backdrop for our thought experiments. Okay. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Now, the proposed goal of the Paranormal Consciousness Study, our whole reason for this episode, the beginning, the embarkation on this journey of the PCS, was to discover and describe a reality where all paranormal phenomena we experience, along with the mundane, exist, is understandable, and could reasonably be accepted by the entirety of the populace.
You're setting your bar low, aren't you? All right, go on.
Yeah. Okay, and the question is there a logical explanation for ghosts, cryptids, dimensional beings, UFOs, the Dwayyo, and the Sykesville Monster?
Dwayyo Jones was one of my favorite parts of the high school experience.
Yes.
He was in my gym class. He could play
amazing.
basketball like nobody's business.
He was a beast. He smelled funny, though.
He did.
He smelled like...
No amount of shower.
He smelled like fox poop.
Yep. The Dwayyo.
This is a lofty goal we have. As we know, the world's population doesn't seem to agree on much, and we're going to find out why coming up.
And it's 2026. We're really not agreeing on much these days.
We're not, and that's okay. In a later pinned episode, we may discuss why, and I'll go ahead and sort of put a marker for the Yuga cycles here, just so that we can start saying that term.
Okay. Well, I was hoping you were going to find a way for us all to be sitting around the campfire singing "Kumbaya" together, but
no,
all right,
no.
I'll accept explanation rather than reconciliation.
No, I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, it'd be great, but I don't think that's going to happen. And that's not what we're out to do. Okay. All right, so we do have a lofty goal. We want to look for an explanation for all those paranormal activities. And yeah, we're going to take another step. Now, I had originally proposed Bernardo Kastrup's book, Why Materialism is Baloney, as our next source to seek answers. I do pull heavily from his book and a few others to really get a good grasp on the topic. Now, later on, we'll also revisit the 7 Hermetic principles as described in the Kybalion to see what resonates, pun intended. We can assess if the Swami of Baltimore was... There it is. I was hoping for that. If he, the Swami of Baltimore, was onto something with these 7 Hermetic principles. And even more intriguingly, what does this say about ancient Greece and Egypt? All right, so this section, an old debate that persists. So the investigation into human consciousness is nothing new. Philosophers and scientists and citizen thinkers like myself have been grappling with these questions for as long as humankind has been on the earth and has been self-aware.
I'm so glad we talked about the logo now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
It really is. This episode is like a little confluence. That's a singularity point. Now, the grappling, in my mind, of consciousness is really twofold. There's grappling with the idea of consciousness itself and, sadly, grappling with each other.
Hey, now, sometimes that can be fun.
Well, that's right. But they still call it an art. I don't think this is very artful. Many groups hold a myriad of and diametrically opposed views. And what an ugly battle befitting humanity's propensity to polarize around topics like this. Now, the reason it is explosive, so to speak, is because it is the fundamental reality of everything, and that is super important to us all. Its implications are far-reaching for our governments, religions, and what we choose to teach as our legacy, and indeed how we act moving forward in time. Now let's begin by examining one of the first and simplest divergences of ideas on the topic of consciousness, and that is dualism versus monism. Now, in the show notes, I will have a chart, and I'll refer to it to set the stage for discussion. So if you're a visual person, I have a visual that I'll put out there. But we're going to talk our way through this. Now, dualism, and it's also known as Cartesian dualism, this is the separation of the human experience into 2 parallel histories. One is physical, that's the body, and one mental, that's the mind, that somehow coexist and influence each other. So there's an acknowledgement that they both are coexistent and have influence on each other. Monism, on the other hand, you might be guessing, and the root word is from Greek monos, one or single. This is the philosophical belief that reality is ultimately one, meaning everything can be reduced to a single substance, principle, or energy. Now, within the diagram that we're going to refer to and you have access to, we see those 3 flavors of that principle. There's physicalism, which is matter over mind. That's also known as the materialist view. There's idealism, which is mind over matter. And then there's neutral monism, which is to say there is some third unnamed substance influencing both matter and mind. Now, these were or are proponents of this idea. There are proponents of this idea, but it's not widely held, and it's not much debated. It was much debated in the early 20th century. So we're really going to leave that neutral monism behind. Now, although we will briefly touch upon dualism a little bit, we're mainly focused on the monist side, specifically the battle between materialism and idealism. Now, you will see physicalism in the chart. We're going to use the term materialism because it's effectively the same thing. Now, to be clear, John, and this is just to set the mental stage because we're moving through a lot of information.
Okay.
Today's goal is to introduce the debate between materialism and idealism. That's setting the bar there.
Okay.
Sound good? All right.
Lay on, Macduff.
All right, Leon. Now, these two opposed core arguments are really deceptively simple, and let's define each. Now, materialism says this: your consciousness is an epiphenomenal process in your brain. That is, it's coming from or out of the brain. Or more simply, from matter comes mind. From the brain comes consciousness. Or even more simply, consciousness occurs in your brain and nowhere else, period. That's materialism. Now, in contrast, and wholly opposite, idealism says this: consciousness is everything, literally everything. The mind is inherent. Now, inherent is a quality that is essential and natural to something, so it can't be separated from it. Mind is inherent. Or more simply, from mind comes matter. Or even more simply, everything is consciousness. The mind is all. From the smallest to the largest thing, it is all a representation of the thinking mind. Now, so as you can see from this monistic approach, each argument holds either matter or mind as the dominant producer of consciousness. Now, that's it, as opposed to dualism, which says they exist in parallel and interact. Now, I reiterate this because a little history will help us understand how we came to be in this disagreement. And I think it is the ditch we drove the science bus into, and the tow truck has still yet to arrive. Now, incidentally, this is known as the hard problem of consciousness. And truth be told, the hard problem is really a problem for materialists, since materialist views are mostly functional or structural. That is, the very physical acts of neuronal processes from which the brain allegedly produces consciousness. Remember, we said they are electrical and chemical processes. These processes can be understood using information found in modern physics and chemistry books you probably cracked open, or not, in your Western schooling.
So be it.
Yeah. Some folks are like, nope, didn't read that. Now, the hard problem, though, is explaining all subjective conscious experience using only the brain. Mundane but very important issues like where your memories are stored for recall is still unresolved by modern science. Another question is, where and how does the human brain reconstruct everything from the material world within the brain? Since the argument is everything happens within the brain, there must be some correlation between parts of the brain firing and the introduction of a stimulus. Although intently studied, this is also unresolved. These are only a few of the many questions that are out there questioning the materialist view, and these are hard questions with no easy or, to date, satisfactory answers. It's not to say new discoveries won't fill in the gaps. They could indeed, but to date, they haven't. But advances in other scientific endeavors, such as quantum physics, describing new frontiers of how our perceived reality is shaped in the first place, are revealing new insights that might answer the questions of the hard problem, but in maybe some very unexpected ways. Okay, now that's a lot to onboard. Now we're going to dive a little deeper into materialism. So let's take a closer look. Now recall that materialism says, from matter, the brain comes mind, consciousness. It's a simple statement, but let's break it down. What is matter? Matter is everything, all the physical stuff we encounter in our lives. Your chair, your iPhone, the tree, the rain, concrete, etc. It occupies space and has mass. What is matter made of? Matter is composed of atoms and molecules and exists in various forms: solids, liquids, gases, and plasma. Now, how does matter generate mind or consciousness? Well, that's the hard part. There are operating hypotheses and theories, but nothing is definitive yet, as we have stated, but here's a description that any materialist should be comfortable with. Our brains are separate and distinct and do not in any way touch other brains. What we perceive through our five senses is reconstructed in our brains on the vast neuronal network. And from this, we make decisions based on other stored information we receive and save. There is no other input except for what is received through our five senses. This is materialism. Now, I'm going to drop a pin here that we can talk about.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, the pin here is some go so far as to say we, like humankind, are deterministic. And that means relating to the philosophical doctrine that all events, including every human action, everything you do from the moment of your birth to the moment of your death, are ultimately determined by causes regarded as external to the will, and that we are nothing but algorithms like a computer, that I could determine everything from the Big Bang all the way to the end of time because it's nothing but an algorithm. That's determinism.
If you simply knew the algorithms that were operating.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Now, that point of view also believes our outcomes collectively can be determined strictly by knowing our material makeup. No free will required. It's all predictable from the Big Bang to tomorrow and into the future. We are animals that act on predetermined scripts running on our brains like a computer running software. But we're going to pin that because determinism is like it's a whole other argument, and it's tough to onboard.
Yeah, that's
if
a
you
lot.
Had any view there, yeah, we'll leave that alone. I'm trying to leave some of these heavier ones behind.
I'm having some issues with deterministic. Yeah, go on. I'm not gonna. I think
that's a tough one.
I feel like that's very, very mechanical in a way that I'm not onboarding.
That's interesting. You would say that. Interesting. Well, I'd love to have that discussion later. I will tell you, just as an interesting aside, while we're talking about it. Dang it!
You keep bumping your
doing
stuff.
That. I'm not doing that.
You are
that cord.
You are a menace in the studio today. We have been gone too long.
Yeah, we've been going for 51 minutes.
No, I just meant we've been out of the studio for too
long. I was
going
to say, yeah, that's a good point. I know someone that's deterministic. Like, I'm talking to him, like, so you believe that we don't have free will? And he goes, oh, yeah. Yeah, I believe that. Like, it's all determinism.
Okay.
And I'm like, wow, okay. Wow. We should talk.
But so does he believe we're all running the same algorithms, or that there's somehow different algorithms for each person? Because
it's unique to the brain.
Why wouldn't I be a robot every single day doing the same thing that my counterparts do? The
idea would be
I could see that with an ant colony of sorts, but
so many different algorithms that can be run and pieced together that they become the fabric of uniqueness just by the sheer number of differences.
Right. Okay, that makes.
But like on one hand, also, right, they say that you, me, and everyone you know has a doppelganger on the planet somewhere.
Yeah.
And that means that someone looks so incredibly like you that, and that begs the question, like, are there like so many versions of people? Are you ever going to run into that dude over in South Africa that looks exactly like you?
Exactly like you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, but that's determinism, and that's I'm glad to hear that is your opinion on that. I'll be interested to talk about that again.
It's too rigid for me.
Yeah,
it's way too rigid.
But that's cleaves very closely to the materialist point of view. It's not far from it. It just takes out the free will. Anyway, let's keep going.
Okay.
So let's get to the interesting part. If you're hanging on to the as we move through this stuff, here's a fun part right now. Materialism to explain an NDE. So let's look at Dr. Alexander's NDE and say, okay, how does the materialism model fit? Now, from a materialist point of view, Dr. Alexander's NDE would, by definition, have to take place in his brain. It would be a phenomena that begins, is experienced, ends, and then is stored as a memory in his brain. His experience might have occurred to him like a dream. however extremely vivid. The memory of it would be stored in the brain, where he would recall it, perhaps easily, after awakening from his coma or regain consciousness, so to speak. So I think effectively we can say an NDE is like an extremely vivid dream and or drug effect, as endogenous DMT is known to be present in the brain and might induce such experiences. But it is important to note this is not supported scientifically and is speculative based on other experiments and reported consciousness effects from DMT. So that door is open and being studied. Now, to most people, this would seem reasonable given their Western education, because what else is there? More so, many people have dreams all the time. They wake to their everyday lives and can recall dreams of varying intensity. Some dream memories are significant enough for long-term retention. Do you have any dreams that you can recall, like from years ago? When I was a kid, I had this dream. I was riding a big wheel down the hill or whatever.
Yes.
I'm just curious.
And it's kind of funny you mention that, because they also involve zombies.
Oh, God. We've got a theme.
I know. It's funny. It's a spontaneously occurring theme.
Wow. It's a synchronicity.
When I worked, in brief, we won't go into details, but in brief, when I worked retail management 20 years ago, I had recurring dreams about a zombie apocalypse. Very vivid, very graphic, very awful. And the worst part about any of the dreams, regardless of what the specific plot was in them, was that there was a relentless feeling of being closed in, that it was inevitable that the zombies would get you.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to the fact that the first zombie movie I ever saw was the original Dawn of the Dead that took place in the shopping mall.
Oh, yeah.
So it was
that affected me too, yeah.
But it was very caught up in my head about the consumerism message of that movie, and the fact that I was now working retail management, and people are messy. They went away when I stopped working retail. I mean, once in a great while, I'll have another zombie dream because there are other things about them that bother me, but I can still remember snippets of those 20 years later.
Interesting.
Now, I also have some more vague memories of the dream I was having this morning when my cat woke me up. But that's more typical. Is like the dreams are vivid. They're very detailed. There are lots of people that I deal with in my life, and I know that they're in the dreams. And then there are some. Do you have dreams? This may be off topic.
That's fine. Keep going.
Do you have? I forgot where I was going. Never mind.
It'll come to you. And when you think of it, drop it in somewhere.
I was just, I got to worrying that we were going to drift way too far off topic, and then suddenly it popped out. It popped out of my head.
That's okay. Yeah, you know what the brain, what it does, and what I learned in over doing years and years of interviews is you just stop thinking about it and you move on, and then it pops right back in. Okay. Your brain will remind you.
But it is interesting that the zombie does pop up again when you say,
"Do
you have dreams you remember?"
Yes, I do. It's funny you should say that.
It's very funny you should mention that. More zombies. Yeah.
This whole episode has been really self-reflective synchronicity.
One of the other things about zombies is that they have a lack of consciousness, that they are organisms running on an algorithm, on a routine. And that pops up even in the literature where the character, the zombie will be an ice cream driver and he'll be continuing to drive the ice cream truck around, or he'll be standing in the ice cream and he'll be plopping the imaginary ice cream into an imaginary cone, because they're just simply running the algorithm about their activity. Yeah. So it is a consciousness thing.
Well, the zombie as an archetype is perfect for that consumerism, right? The repetition without thinking, that suburban slumber of just, I'm lulled to sleep and I'm purposefully
Are you living?
I'm putting that term in there.
What is living? All these questions. Yes.
That's right. Yes.
You like this, don't you?
Yes, I do. Well, all that philosophy leads to these questions, which are interesting. Yeah. I find anyway. But yeah, let's keep going with the NDE because we talked about dreams and we've got this zombie theme. Very cool. Let's see, where was I? Let's see. Given most people's Western education, right? I mean, you and I are a product of a suburban East Coast Western, education.
Yep.
Because from our Western education, the question would be, well, what else is there? What other answer could there possibly be? People have dreams all the time. They wake up to their everyday lives and repeating stuff. Let's see.
See, I drifted you off.
That's okay.
I did.
That's all right.
That's my fault.
We'll find it.
Do you want me to riff for a while you read?
No, I get it.
Okay.
I get it. But there's a question we should raise in alignment with Kastrup's book. Remember, we're pulling from that book and trying to stay in alignment with Materialism is Baloney. That's his book. Now, materialism by necessity needs functioning, firing neurons to execute any process of the brain. There must be, according to the definition, electrochemical activity in order to function and create the NDE experience and memory. Okay? So, in order to function and have a dream, the brain has to be working. Now, Dr. Alexander suggests his charts indicated no electrochemical brain activity. Now, per Kastrup, materialists suggest that specificity allows for a handful of neurons whose activity is too faint to be measurable to hypothetically explain lifetimes of complex and coherent experiences. Now, that specificity of brain processes says that certain external experiences are correlated to specific regions and or specific neurons in the brain. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, but that's the explanation that a materialist will give, that there is this special set of neurons that are providing this, that are too faint to detect. And all I can say is I don't know anything about medical equipment, and is there some threshold of detectability? I don't know. Now, there's other research. I mean, these articles turn up in news feeds all the time. Like this one from The Hill describes some research, and I'll quote from the story. It says, in particular, patients displayed a sudden surge in the specific type of brain waves that usually indicate conscious thought. Production of those brain waves, called gamma waves, spiked up to 300 times in their previous levels in one patient in the moments before death. That dying patient's gamma wave pattern reached levels higher than those found in normal conscious brains. Whew. But what activates it and what is being experienced? That's my question. Is it protective? Is it meant to soothe? And why does it occur in rats, which was the study was looking at? What are the correlated...
She didn't mention that.
Yeah.
I thought they had the electrodes
I
linked up to some poor person on their deathbed, but these are rats.
Yeah, they're rats in that case. Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed that part.
No, it's okay.
Now, what are the correlated regions being induced, and what does it tell us? Now, these are all still mysterious since research on the dying is invasive. And we can glean insight where we can, but we don't want to, unless people volunteer, right? There's not a lot we can do in a lot of cases.
I don't know. I'm intrigued enough. I might volunteer if it doesn't add an extra burden to my family. I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean,
there's all kinds
the same
of
vein,
things.
my brother was sharing with me. He's like, you can get a card that says, when I die, my body goes to science.
Yes, you can do that.
You can, and then whatever doesn't get used, they just cremate.
Well, have you heard any interviews recently or correlate any of this with hospice nurses or death doulas?
Mm-hmm.
They have remarkably similar stories.
Oh my
about
gosh, they're absolutely
the process of checking out.
Yeah,
and I mean that in a respectful way. Like there is almost I'm checking out of this plane of existence and moving on to the next one, and they are remarkably regular.
Well, to get into one of my very recent real experiences, my family member spoke to her sister a few days before the end. Let's call it the end. Yeah, I mean, that went into the oral history of this person, and she saw her sister, spoke with her. That was the observation. My own my brother had made a remark. He's like, he said, I could just tell she was in the process of dislocating. The other one was
dislocating, not here-ish, but physically here and mentally
moving
somewhere else. Yes.
There's also, I witnessed this. We're talking about my mother. My mother passed. And I was also there for my father's passing. And the story that I heard there was that he needed to be completely on pain medication. It was morphine.
Okay.
And so nearing his death, his consciousness pushed through the morphine and came to consciousness and said, "Get your mother. I need to see her."
This is also not uncommon. Yeah.
It's like
there's like a last spurt of energy.
Yeah. My mother, although was not able to be conscious, her eyes opened, and my sister was there, and her eyes opened and were open for some of the last hours. So she also sort of pushed through, but she was not able to regain consciousness.
So when my mother passed, she was in the house. My father was taking care of her. As I was talking to you beforehand, it was during COVID, so they were alone, and this had me very concerned. But I was able to go over about once a week or so to check in on them. And because there was a hospice nurse, but again, her availability was limited as well because of COVID, because she had to see multiple people, so they really didn't want her around others too much. So no one warned my dad about hallucinations.
Yes.
Or what I'm going to call hallucinations, because that's what they would say.
Yep.
But my mother began to see the loved ones from her life, her mother, her father, those other relatives as well, and experiencing them in the same room. And my dad kind of took it in stride, but he took it as, oh, this is kind of just make believe. And I'm like, she's having conversations with them, or isn't she? Yes.
Yeah.
And of course she is. And I'm like, yeah. And that's a not uncommon experience.
That's
like
right.
when I
these
said
are all common experiences.
I said, oh, so nobody told you this could happen? He said, no, I think it was in the literature. I said, well, the next time the nurse comes by, ask her about this. And of course she said, yeah, this is normal. This is something lots of people have. They have these conversations. Like I said, it's almost a checkout process.
Right. That's right. Exactly.
So it's,
there's the consciousness that you're dealing with, but then the physical body has a death process as well.
But it's the interesting thing is those conversations, and they tend to be about the same kinds of things. They are in many cases they resolve old issues, but in other cases, and probably just as common, they've moved past those old issues, and they are now focused on what happens next.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, a lot of them are like, hey, it's time to go. Yeah. I'm coming back for you. Be prepared.
Like my mother and my grandmother had a ton of issues, not unlike the fact I had issues with my mother, but they're loving issues. They are issues that, two people who are very much alike or different because of generational differences and upbringings have. My mother experienced her mother, and apparently she was not having reconciliation issues. She was having conversations about what happens when I move on.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that's not. Yeah, it's like, oh, I see my mother. It's mommy, and what happens next? Tell me, take me to the next level.
Yeah,
it's weird that it's common. I mean, in some ways, it makes sense because
that it's to others it makes perfect sense.
Right.
To others, it makes perfect sense. To somebody that thinks that we're just sort of a random amalgamation of matter that suddenly takes on consciousness at some magical moment and then is now reconstituting or not coherent anymore, that we would have these common experiences as if it is as common as I eat food and my body grows, right? These are common things because this is a common process and it's not random.
I'm going to ask you
I should say that is the theory, in the same way that what I was going to say when you said, my mother and her mother had issues, and this came up in a conversation where My brother joked the other day. He's like, well, what if like the husband and wife hated each other? Are they dying to see each other? Or what if the wife got remarried? Who is she going to see in heaven? But
but that's too mechanical for what's really happening here about the consciousness. They're good questions.
The spiritual, soulful experience is that we are a physical manifestation of our higher selves.
Right.
And our higher selves do not have the problems of our 3D bodies, of our egotistical bodies. Mm-hmm. So the fact that we join into consciousness together, we're not going to go up there and argue like, oh, I'm jealous of my wife. It's going to be, I'm past it. I'm past it. I'm in consciousness with everything. And the fact that we're all here is a beautiful thing. And I use the word beauty in a collectively nice sense, right?
I got you. I think I was not going to ask you a question. I'm not going to ask you on the air, by the way, but I have another question to ask you when we get done about a common experience that occurs. So, okay.
Absolutely.
All right. I'm sorry.
No, that's not a problem. This is exactly what this is all about. Hopefully people will find this interesting.
Yeah, this is why consciousness study, when you brought this up as an idea, I jumped on. I said, yes, go do that. This is why consciousness wraps around all of the paranormal issues, is that it's the ultimate expression of the human experience. And I keep saying that one of the things that draws me to this is whatever is occurring, whether it's a physical thing or not, whether aliens are visiting us or Bigfoot's in the woods, people have these experiences and they are remarkably similar to each other. They do have differences, but when you come down to the ultimate question of human consciousness and death, life and death, they become even more similar.
But we're gonna. That's so interesting you say that, and that's so spot on, because we talk about a little bit of a paradox that I pick on a little bit later on as we go.
Let's keep going.
All right. So, let's bring it back. So in Dr. Alexander's case, he did not die, but came near death. But his charts indicate no brain activity. Now, without more data, it's hard for us to know, and the debate continues as far as his experience. But he came back with a very vivid memory he was able to recall in great detail, despite there being no electrical activity, apparently, in his brain, or so we're led to believe through the charts and all the details. Okay, so that's the materialism view of his NDE. Now, let's move on and discuss idealism. And this gets a little hard to onboard, but we'll do the best we can. Or maybe it isn't. Maybe there's other people that are like, good, we're going to get to the easy part. And we'll see. Because in some ways it's easier, and I think you'll see why. Now, idealism represents the alternative explanation to the materialist approach. And it is the core of Bernardo Kastrup's book. Now, if indeed we posit that materialism is not a satisfactory and unsubstantiated theory of consciousness, there must be some other way. Now, Kastrup lays out his argument in his book and describes his idealistic approach. Now, Kastrup uses a mental model to help visually explain how it works. It, too, is deceptively simple. And to start with, I will use it, too. And here we go. You ready? And put your creative cap on.
I'm ready.
I know you're left brain dominant, but we're going to work your right brain. All right, good. I'm glad you're here for this. I'm not doing this alone. Imagine a vast body of water, infinitely big. It goes on and on forever. Now imagine an eddy within that water. And remember, an eddy is a swirling, circular current in a fluid that moves opposite to the main flow like a small whirlpool behind a rock. Now you can visualize the eddy, yes? The spiraling motion, the circular top on the surface that also extends down into a conical shape. It's not unlike a tornado in the air, or water as it spirals down the drain and tub. So what is true about this eddy? You can see it. We can define its shape. We can maybe measure it if it persists. It might be able to move about in the water, and we could track its movement very easily because it has distinguishable edges, somewhat distinct from the vast open body of water, at least visually. But what is the eddy made of? If it has these physical qualities, it must also have constituent parts, right? Parts that it is made up of? Well, it does. It is made of water. It is the qualities of the water that take shape to form the distinctive eddy. Now, imagine the water is mind, and you and everything else are the eddy. That is the first stage of the mental model of idealism. From the mind, that is the substrate of creation, the matrix, if you will, comes matter, the form all creation takes. Now, Kastrup builds on this model as questions and explanations are called for in developing it. But this is the basic starting position, and it gives us a good way to think about it. All right. Were you able to see the eddy, John, in your mind? In the big body of water?
Yes.
Okay, good. You seem very meditative.
I was taking it seriously.
That's good. It's good. Now,
I'm into this now. I'm like right there.
Okay, you saw the eddy, and there's sort of that paradox of you can see the eddy, but it's really just made of water, right? So the inherent thing is the water or the mind.
Right.
But in the mind, in the substance of mind, forms take shape.
Yep.
Okay. Got it. Now, does that sound unbelievable? To you? Does that sound
sorry.
that's okay. That's right. Does it sound unbelievable to you?
You're still
onboarding it.
I'm still onboarding it.
Okay. All right. That's fine. Now,
you're working against some other programming I have.
I know.
Yeah.
And that's exactly
maybe
why
not the programming you think, though. Go on.
Okay. No, that's interesting. Good. This is meant to induce thought.
Okay.
Which is why the next sentence is really relative. Do you see, everyone, that we merely flopped the position of mind and matter? Right? Physicalism says from matter comes the mind. But on the other hand, we flopped it over. From mind comes matter. Right?
Okay.
In all the forms.
You're still talking about a dichotomy here.
It is a dichotomy.
Okay, go on.
Yeah,
go on.
Complete opposites.
Okay,
right?
go on.
Okay, now, and here's a little bit. Now, even as I wrote this, and of course, while reading it now, my own brain flopped over several times. Now, thinking, this is so hard to apprehend. This is not how we experience life day to day. It reminds me of the Rubin vase, and I'll put that picture in the show notes too. This is the optical illusion, that image that depicts a vase in white and two human profiles in black. And again, as I said, I'll put that in the show notes. And when looking at it...
I'm going to send you another picture where the question is it Batman or two Wolverines kissing?
Oh, let's do that. Yeah, you got to do that.
All right, I'll see if I can find it.
That.
But it's the same idea.
It's the same idea. Yeah. So maybe you can already visualize this.
I'll find it somewhere. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. And it's that same concept. When you're looking at it, your brain flops between the images. You see the faces, and then you see the cup, and then you see the faces, and then you see the cup. Now, there's also another image that I put further down. John can see it. And I'm curious to see what you see in that picture.
You mean that? Okay, so on the page, the next picture down from the
see
vase?
on the right hand side of the column, there's the vase, and then there's just one little bit down.
What am I? I don't know what it is.
Good. Okay, and it's totally okay. I don't like trick questions.
Is it another underwater photograph of the Loch Ness monster?
That's a good guess. But that is no. That's no. Okay, but but hold that thought.
It just looks grainy.
Hold that thought.
Okay.
Okay, that's awesome. That's really good. Okay, so now, but I found too, it is like another optical illusion where once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I will include that in the show notes. That's the one we're talking about. Now, more than anything, I also recognize the mental entrainment I was experiencing from my education. It occurred to me that idealism flies in the face of what I was told over and over in my upbringing. Even in Catholic school, this was the paradigm. And it can be hard to apprehend and hold the thought in our mind, but soon I discovered with effort I can shift my thinking and speak about it intelligently. And so where John is struggling in a very real sense with this, flopping your mind over and thinking about it in a different way is very challenging. And again, a lot of this is why it was also hard to write this script and move through this, because my brain kept flipping back and forth.
I can understand.
Yeah, and when you see the other picture that I put in there, you'll see why it's like once you see it, like your brain apprehends it, and then you can't unsee it.
And I totally apologize. I went to look immediately while I was still thinking about the picture for Batman or Wolverine. So I found that.
You found it?
I found that.
Good,
but
good.
Did you describe what's in this picture yet?
Do you want me to tell you? I don't want to say it out loud. I'll tell you after the show.
We're still building up to it. Oh, no.
Well,
okay.
After the show, because I want the listeners to go and look at it.
Is it an Eddie?
It's not.
Okay.
It's not. And you'll kick yourself.
Okay.
Because once you see it, you can't unsee it.
I understand. Okay,
Yeah.
Good concept. Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize for drifting. I was trying to take care of other show business
totally cool.
during the show for a good show reason.
I have plenty to do over here.
Okay.
All right, we need to move on, but let me end this section with this. Okay. Idealism is where many great ancient and modern thinkers have arrived, given their studies across many disciplines, including spiritual and scientific. Now, it is often overlooked that many great scientists held personal spiritual beliefs that created cognitive dissonance for them. People like Albert Einstein, Max Planck, Isaac Newton, Nicholas Copernicus, and many others had these cognitive dissonant effects as well. So finally, you may be thinking, what then drives the substrate, this matrix, this mind, this ocean of everything? What impels it to create? How does anything take form from it? And the answer is thought. Our reality is mind thinking. Yours, mine, John's over there. We all collectively think, using our localized free will borrowed from the larger mind, and create the reality that we see, taste, touch, smell, and hear, also known as consensus reality. And what about the brain? Now, this is the last big, difficult part to mentally on board, and then we're going to give you a break. The brain is a physical representation of the mind in reality that is there to filter reality, allowing for the individualized consciousness that is you, your ego, to experience individuality. If you ever heard someone say memory is non-local and the brain is a filter, this is what they're talking about. If we can't find it in the brain, things such as memory, then where the heck is it? Well, we are bathing in it all the time, 24/7. And we're going to talk more about this. We're going to talk about this a lot as we move on. Now, idealism is equally difficult to test scientifically and to measure and detect differences, all the ways science likes to operate and find truth. It is not impossible, but it has its own difficulties, the same difficulties that materialism does. And that, my friends, is idealism. Hey everybody, Mike here. We hope you're enjoying the Paranormal Consciousness Study episode. This is a quick update to say we decided to split the episode. Rather than 2.5 hours, we decided to break it down into 2 parts. So join us next week for the continuation of our discussion. Thanks for listening and have a great weekend.